MSU football got pulverized, and Michigan State basketball almost pulverizes their tournament streak, but very important, they didn't. They still beat Bowling Green, thank God. All right, let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, do whatever makes you happy. Which is, if that's reminiscent on the basketball game, great. You know what? No one ever thought that we'd celebrate a win against Bowling Green as much as we are right now, but as hairy as that was, you kind of have to. We're going to get to that in the third segment here. Batting first, and in the second segment, of course, will be the football game, which Michigan State lost 38-16. I got to say, really had hope for this game, which shame on me. We're going to go through it all right now, but first, hey, please rate, review, subscribe. Reach out to us, lockedonspartans@gmail.com if you ever have to do that with any questions, comments, whatever makes you happy, guys. All right, let's get into it. Because for the sixth time in the last 7 games, Michigan State, well, they take a fat L, and It's not looking good. There's no way to really put any sort of lipstick on this pig and tell you that, things are going great here. But let me do this really quick. And I know this is going to make people roll their eyes. No one cares. And I 100% get it if you don't want to hear any part of this. Again, I just said it. 6 losses in the last 7 games. That's inexcusable no matter if it's a rebuild, not a rebuild. Who cares? However, let me just do this first. Really quick. Acknowledge what the team is going through in the season and also before the season, right, guys? Going into the season, we've talked about this ad nauseum in the offseason, that offensive line depth is going to be a massive issue, all right? Defensive line depth, an issue as well. Okay, well, here you are. You've had all sorts of injuries to both units. They look atrocious right now. So yes, we can acknowledge it before the season, also acknowledge this a rebuilding year, but still be really frustrated after this, again, 38-16 loss. It sounds like excuses, and maybe it is, but I think it's a rational, reasonable way of looking at this. So just let me say something rational before I go the rest of the episode and start shooting from the hip and saying a lot of emotionally driven stuff right now. We ask ourselves, why does it look that bad? I think those are perfectly reasonable explanations because the defensive line, look, whether it's the Barrow Harmon departures at the end of the spring cycle or, on the offensive line, never having depth to begin with. You went into the season with Dallas Fincher being the only guy in your 2 deep that had any college experience. You've seen the injuries. Now this is where we're at right now. That is a reason why it's so bad. And also point blank, guys, like this game against Illinois was over as far as I'm concerned. When the injury report came out and Malik Spencer and Charles Brantley were out for the game, you're starting Caleb Coley back at safety, a guy that I don't even know if he had more than 20 snaps on the season, and here he is logging 25 snaps or whatever it was. And then Jalen Thompson, a true freshman. Again, it sounds like excuses, but behind that horrendous pass rush, you got 2 guys that have barely played the position starting. I couldn't sprint to FanDuel fast enough to place money on Illinois. Anyway, Let's start with something different here as we, get away from the excuses, I guess you could call it, or, rational reasons as to why things are the way they are right now. Because we are going to hammer some people. Believe this isn't just Michigan State PR here. And believe me, I've been doing a lot of PR for this coaching staff. I thought the Jonathan Smith hire was great. He was at the top of my board even before he was a rumored name here at Michigan State when all that what went down with Mel Tucker last year. I, for one, and still am all in on Jonathan Smith. I am, but here's also what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to say you're wrong for not believing. How stupid would that be on my end to say, oh, come on, after what you've seen so far, you don't believe in the vision? Especially after you've seen that, hey, next year recruiting's, 58th in the country? Oh, you're an idiot for not believing. No, you are well within your right to not believe. What I'm doing, I'm going off his past, what he did at Oregon State. Yes, a slow, methodical rebuild. He made it work there at Oregon State, right? Now, if you want to go what's going on in the present, again, 6 of your last 7 games that are losses, some on-field coaching issues that we're going to get to very quickly here. I completely understand. Go for it. Let's just get to that right now about this game, because you know what? I saw some cracks for the first time in maybe my belief, and maybe why I'm not going to be as defiant as saying like, oh, no, this is for sure going to work. Yeah, sure, recruiting's taking a hiccup. We're going to talk about that early next week. That's a different discussion. Whatever. The in-game stuff was concerning today. Very, very concerning today. And I'm not even talking about, hey, after the first quarter, your offense is getting stopped every single drive or your defense is getting rolled. Kind of like what happened in the Michigan and Indiana game. I'm talking the game management, folks. I'm talking about the end of half. That was puzzling. And I know that sounds a little silly. What was the math there? What's 38 minus 16? Side to 22-point loss? I know it sounds ridiculous to talk about one sequence of events, but that was puzzling. Because if you remember, or if you don't, I'll refresh your memory. Look, they could have called a timeout with 40-ish seconds left. Illinois had the ball, 3rd and 3 on their own 23. Okay, you could have called a timeout. You had all 3 of them to try to force a stop, call another timeout, get the ball back with 30-ish seconds left, try to score before halftime, a halftime that you're going to get the ball at, after the break, okay? You didn't call the timeout there, though. So you let it go down to 23 seconds, and then you get the ball back after the punt with 18 seconds left on your own 30-yard line. 2 steps of errors right there from Jonathan Smith. All right, not taking the timeout on 3rd and 3. And I heard some people, I read some people on Twitter say, well, the defense was getting carved up. They needed a break. You couldn't trust the defense in that spot. I kind of heavily disagree with that one. Not to the point where the defense wasn't looking good in the first half. They weren't, but 3rd and 3 on the opponent's 23-yard line, you can get a stop there. And even if you don't, with 40-some seconds left in the half, I think you can at least hold them to a field goal, okay? A 12-point game, and if they get the field goal, turn it into a 15-point game. A 2-touchdown game, turning it into a 2-touchdown game. That's really no sweat right there. Okay, like even if I guess they could drive down and get a touchdown, I think that would have been a very improbable outcome in that circumstance with the amount of time and with, just how the game was going late. I think Illinois was going to be content with taking just 3 points. Nevertheless, fine. Let's say that, in an alternate reality, I actually agree with that. Give the defense a break. Sure. You get the ball with 18 seconds left and 3 timeouts. You have a kicker that, while he can't make an extra point, he can bang the ball in from at least 60 yards, maybe even 63 or 64. And Jonathan Kim has an iron leg. You're telling me in 18 seconds, instead of running some plays with your timeouts to try to get 25 yards and make it a 9-point game, a 2-touchdown game into a touchdown and a field goal game, you need the ball out. You're just content going into halftime. And I saw some people crying about, hey, you know what? Well, did you not watch the Michigan game? How the end of that half worked out? Well, sure I did. They also weren't down 12 points against Michigan before halftime. And also, just because something goes catastrophic once doesn't mean you stop doing it for the rest of the year. Just because it didn't work at the end of one half, it doesn't mean that you just stop trying to score at the end of every half the rest of the season. If that was the case, if we stopped doing things that didn't work, well, hell, guys, we wouldn't attempt a single pass after the second week of the season. Like, you have 3 timeouts. It just takes 25 yards to go downfield. And I know it's easier said than done, but try it. You're only going to win this game if you score points. Kneeling the football isn't scoring points. And what really befuddled me, if I could throw that B word out there, out of halftime, it's 4th and 4 at midfield, and they're going for it, which I agree with. I'm on more the aggressive side of play calling. You know what? That's where my game theory rests. Be more aggressive. Maybe it's the Dan Campbell high that gets to me as a Lions fan, but truly. And then they went for it. 4th and 2 down near the goal line. Hyper aggressive to start the second half, but meek and meager like a church mouse to end the first half. What's your philosophy? Make it make sense. I just cannot believe they turtled into their shell at the end of the first half. It was ridiculous. And I'm going to keep rambling on and on just about, the football. I got something really rational to say out of this break. But first, guys, I need to talk your ears off about 5-Hour Energy. Yes, we could all use some energy after that one right there. Our friends over at 5-Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby. It's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, whenever those are for Michigan State fans, or an agonizing second overtime. God, I love an overtime game right now. Anyway, which is why they've created the Stand the Fan 5-Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel. The energy shot made just for super fans like us, the fans who are first in the parking lot and who are the last to leave. We see you. Now, what gives me, it says this right here in the ad copy, what gives me, a Spartan fan fuel this week? I don't know, that we're just 2 games closer to the end of the season. How about that for some upbeat positivity? No, I actually am excited to get to East Lansing on Friday night. That's going to be, if not for nothing, a fun tailgate coming up. And I'm going to be doing it with some 5-Hour Energy. They know no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you are prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5-Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with the 5-Hour Energy. Available on 5hourenergy.com shipped nationwide. Also, gang, you need to talk your ears off about Team Ticker holiday season. It's already here. Let's just face the music. It's here right now for the Spartan in your life. Or, hey, maybe even the Spartan in your life is yourself. Get yourself a Team Ticker sign. Now, it's going behind me right now with the schedule for Michigan State football. It's not just your typical countdown sign that counts down the hours and days till kickoff. Yes, it does that, but it also gives you, the schedule, some stats, weather reports, guys. Also, news and tidbits from around the world in college football and college sports. This is the greatest thing you'll throw in your man cave. And, hey, lucky for us Michigan State fans, we get 2 options. We get the Sparty, like it's shown right now if you're watching on YouTube, or just the classic Michigan State logo. Now, even better than great options, just a great product, how about some great savings? When you go to teamticker.com, use promo code LOCKEDON for $50 off your purchase. You heard me right. $50 off your purchase. That is over at teamticker.com. Again, guys, promo code LOCKEDON for $50 off your purchase at teamticker.com. All right, so I tried to start this episode, whether people like it or not, with some reality, with some rationality that depth was always going to be an issue. This is why it looks the way it is, and injuries. So allow me to turn on the irrational fan side of my brain right now, because this is coming from just strictly driven by emotion. And I've already said that I still do believe in Jonathan Smith's long term, but can I just say something? Can I just say something without everyone getting upset? Maybe you'll agree with me. Maybe you'll think I'm an idiot. Maybe you already think I'm an idiot. Who cares? I'm going to say this anyway. Hey, Smith, put the mic on your headset down and act like you're talking to someone every once in a while. Just once. Maybe twice if you really want to mix it up and really act like you're engaged in the game right now. I understand being the CEO. Hands off. We lauded him for that all offseason. That's his MO. You know what? I trust my staff. I trust my guys. They could do it all. They got it. How many times do we got to see the camera panned over to you after a back-breaking play or a penalty or getting stuffed on 3rd and short, and then just Mike sticking straight up to the sky, arms over the chest, as if you're just waiting for your turn at the meat counter at the grocery store? Act engaged. Talk to a player during a game. Just a single coach, perhaps. I get being the CEO, right? But even CEOs at Fortune 500 companies, well, they unmute their mics, surely, during earnings calls, or, I don't know, business pitches or huge sales calls, which are your games on Saturday. I like Jonathan Smith, but, oh, man, it's not quite to the level of going to the sidelines and seeing the keep chopping motion whenever it happens, but as we are spiraling, losing 6 out of 7 games, and I got to see this guy look completely uninterested in everything going on around him, or not even talking to any player that is wearing a helmet during the entirety of a game. Starting to wonder what do the players and coaches think of this? Again, hands off is fine. That maybe is what draws some people to him. Just optically, for just irrational people like myself, you look stupid. Okay, just act like you're coaching during the game. All right, from, the head coach to the guys below him, if I could just criticize another person that we've been very high on this season, this offseason, still am. Let me be very clear. When we talk about the coordinators here, and we're going to talk about Joe Rossi, I am incredibly sympathetic to their situation. Let's all this can't be blamed on, Rossi's an idiot, or, Lindgren's an idiot. These guys have no idea what they're doing. Guys, look at what they have to work with. These are two sides of the ball with zero trenches. Zero trenches. Not below average. Not bad. Horrible. Horrendous trenches. Okay? So, with that said, I understand that they are very handcuffed right now. One can't protect a passer. The other unit, they can't rush a passer. With that said, I am very puzzled by Joe Rossi's game plan in the first half, which was, let's just always rush 4. Or sometimes 3. Because we've said the stats on this show that, guys, in the 5 games leading up to this one, not only did they not have any sacks, they've only had 12 pressures total in the 5 games leading up to this one. We've also said, too, that he has yet to blitz more than 10 times in a game during that stretch. It's very clear your pass rush needs some help. Maybe send more than, 7, 8 blitzes in a game. I know it's going to leave you susceptible to damage in the secondary, especially with some young, inexperienced players like today. But guess what? That's happening whether you rush 3 guys, 4 guys, or 6 guys. At least try something to get to the quarterback here. So I was incredibly puzzled in the first half to see that only 3-ish guys rushed the passer on that 3rd and 15. And I say ish because I'm not entirely sure what Jordan Hall was doing. Looked like he was spying the quarterback, but who cares? Whatever. I don't care if he was playing patty cake. You sent at most 4 people to the quarterback. And this is going to shock everyone. No one got close to coming home like they haven't since September when you were playing School of the Depth A&M, whoever that was. It's been again, not bad, not pretty, horrendous. They flashed this on the screen today during the game on Fox Sports 1. We all knew it was bad. I did not know it was this bad. Michigan State's sackless streak is the longest in FBS since 2005. Historically bad pass rush. Blitz more. And they did a little bit in the second half, but I'm left wondering, why did the sample size have to be the last 11 halves of football to realize that no one can get home on a 4-man rush? I was just absolutely beside myself during that 3rd and 15 because, we saw it coming. Once I saw only 4 guys still at the line of scrimmage. Nope, they're not going to get anywhere close to Luke Altmaier. So where was the sample size big enough? That's just one thing I had for the coordinators. Again, guys, they got nothing to work with. It's bad, but it still doesn't make the loss feel any better because this is the 3rd straight edition of, that loss feels a little extra salty, doesn't it? I mean, sure, you get pulverized by Ohio State, Oregon, whatever. That, yeah, what else is going to happen? You could play that game 100 times. That's the outcome all 100 times. But for the 3rd week in a row, I know it's a rebuilding year. I know that we were destined for a 6-6 or a 7-5 season like I thought. Now that's out the window regardless. It was a middling season. Why did the losses still suck that much? Well, one, because 3 weeks ago it was Michigan, or 4 weeks ago, whatever. One of the worst Michigan teams you'll ever see. You lost to them. And then Indiana, another team with a first-year head coach, but they are throttling you. So, but you could say, you know what, fine. Michigan talent-wise, they're better. They got 4, if not 5 guys that are going to go in the first round of the NFL draft. Indiana, a lot of older transfers. They got a great quarterback, whatever. Illinois, though, I got to say, maybe it's just me. Perhaps it's not. I doubt it is. I'm a little fired up about this one because you lost by 22 points to an Illinois team that is not that good. Point blank, not that good. And save your, Matt, they started 6-1. They're in the top 25 comments. Grow up. Please grow up. Look, winning or losing the game is one thing. Getting rolled and never even looking competitive beyond halftime, that's a completely different thing. Injuries or no injuries. Look, Michigan State's also not the only team with injuries. I fully accept that too. But one of the reasons for optimism in this game that we talked about on Friday is that Illinois has a really bad offensive line. Not Michigan State bad. Let's not get anything twisted right now. But we said, we backed it up with numbers, that Luke Altmaier is a top 20 most pressured quarterback in college. All right. He has one game over the 4 games coming into this one with over 60% completion percentage. He was losing faith in his offensive line. He was sacked 20 times in the last 5 games. Sure, Michigan State got 12 pressures this time. Great, awesome. That's pretty average. That's not extraordinary. They also got 0 sacks because they just can't get home at any circumstance. But I thought maybe some optimism because you know what? The pass rush has been horrific, but they've been against some really good offensive line units. Maybe wake up here this one, and it all works out. No. Of course it didn't. It's terrible. Now, what we did also worry about before this game, sure, we spewed off some optimism, but I also said this is by no means a guarantee win because the one thing I do worry about is the Illinois pass rush, which was fine, above average. I actually think it was, a little better than people were giving it credit for going into this game. Not this good, though. Again, injuries, depth, yada, yada, yada. You don't want to hear it. I'm kind of sick of saying it, but even all that aside, 23 pressures given up to them, 6 sacks. And my God, you're lucky that Aidan Chiles has some legs, or otherwise that 6 number would have been closer to 10, if not even a smooth baker's dozen in the sack category. But look, Chiles was fighting for his life back there. We are going to start with Aidan Chiles here in the next segment and then dabble a little bit on basketball. But first, need to talk your ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Guys, as I am tucked away in the 300 level at Ford Field tomorrow watching the Detroit Lions, you already know my pocket will be loaded with bets over that I've made at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Shane Zylstra, anytime touchdown, 8-1. Go jump on that at FanDuel if you're a sick enough puppy like I am. All right, guys. Also, they're great for live in-game betting, and I'll confess something right now. I was very scared at halftime of that Bowling Green game. I went ahead to hedge my happiness, and I live bet Bowling Green plus 12.5 during that game. How on earth that bet lost is beside me, but you know what? I don't care. Any comfortable Michigan State victory is a good one for me. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins for new customers, guys. And they are driving the entire NFL season. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Game time, that's right. Who wouldn't want to be at Spartan Stadium on Friday night? Boilermakers, Spartans, Lordy, what a game. I will be there. I cannot wait. If you want to show up for that game too, go ahead and get yourself some great tickets over at GameTime, the greatest ticketing app out there. Because, hey, you know what? I know that we got about a week until this game. You could already catch great flash deals over at GameTime. Or let's say Friday, you get out of work. Well, dang, I had no plans, but shoot, it's a shame I lost all those flash deal savings. Ron Buster. The last-minute ticket deals over at GameTime are also second to none. They save you money up until kickoff, even a little after kickoff. So go ahead, save that money. Also, just save money right now. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's all one word, LOCKEDONCollege, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it? You already know it. It's game time. All right, so we're doing this live on YouTube right now. It's 11:15, and this next topic, Aidan Chiles, I'm going to try not to scream because both my kids are sleeping right now, my lovely wife, and I'd hate for them to wake up because, oh, there goes Dad again screaming about a 18, 19-year-old quarterback, whatever. But I got to say, it's a minority. It's a vocal minority. But it's a minority that, got me fired up today because, guys, point blank, before I just start really getting fired up, that was Aidan Chiles' best game, probably, as a Spartan. No turnovers. I even said before the game on Twitter, I asked, what is on top of your must-see list from MSU football against Illinois? Almost 800 of you voted. 45% of you guys said tighten up the turnovers. No turnovers today, but it wasn't even that. Okay, 200 some yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. He also had 66 yards on 9 rushes. That's taking out the sacks and all that stuff. So really strong game overall. Am I calling it the greatest game that's going to happen in college football this weekend? No, I'm not. Am I saying that, oh my God, he should be in New York for the Heisman? No. Am I saying that it's an elite, great game? Like, no, but considering the circumstances that he was pressured 23 times, fighting for his life, avoiding sacks before he could even digest guys are breaking out of their routes. Come on, guys. People. Look, I know Chiles has not been perfect. Of course, I'm very supportive of Chiles. I think that he is the answer here. But I'll also say, too, just to prove I'm not a total fanboy, he sucked against Indiana. He was horrible against the Hoosiers. He cost us that game at Boston College single-handedly almost. All right, like, he's had some really bad games. This was not one of them. He's also showed some growth throughout the year, took a step back against Indiana, but picked up right where he left off before that game. Progress is not linear. You're going to have some hiccups. He had the hiccup against Indiana, 2 horrendous decisions in the first half. Where's the horrendous decision today? In a game where he probably should have made 3 or 4 horrendous decisions, say that guys are running him down like a pack of lions on a single injured gazelle. Like, in what world did Aidan Chiles have a bad game? So for the people that, were maybe fed up with he didn't get rid of the ball in 4th and 34. You ever want to ask yourself why we got in 4th and 34 in the first place? The intentional, he intentional grounded. You want to know why he intentionally grounded? Because for the 20th time in the game, he had someone in his face mask before he could even grip the laces of the football. Like, look, if you're not satisfied with Chiles after that game, if you think he's even in the top 20 reasons that we lost that game, point blank, I don't know what to tell you. Not that, I don't want to sound like I'm talking down on people or saying that, I'm just an ardent defender and he can't do any wrong, because he clearly can. He has, just not in this game. When he gets the snap from his right side, there's at least 1 or 2 people in his face the entire game. It's helpless. And by the way, on the off chance that he gets a clean pocket or can throw the ball, he's got 1 skill position player that's worth writing home about if you want to be frank about it. All right, it's Nick Marsh. It's a true freshman Nick Marsh that he's really relying on. Like no one else is really going to land on an all-conference honorable mention list outside of Nick Marsh. Like, that's the only guy that can make a play out there. That just drove me. Again, it was only a few counts, but that drove me up a wall. The Chiles criticism, valid at previous games this year, not today. If anything, you got to give him dap. Well, anyway, up next, Purdue, Rutgers. Who cares? 2 winnable games, but I would not put a single cent on Michigan State winning either of those games. Yeah, Purdue's horrible. Great. So are our trenches. That's how you win football games. I don't know if that's clear to you yet by now, but that's how you win football games. How good your offensive and defensive lines are. And sure, the defensive line can stop the run a little bit. We got a little bit of a run push against a really bad run unit in Illinois, but I don't trust this offensive line protecting Chiles against 50-50 salesmen and beer vendors. I don't. So can they beat Purdue? Sure. Will they? I'm not going to guarantee that win. Can they beat Rutgers? Yeah, probably. Will they? Oh my God, I'm even further from guaranteeing it. Anyway, let's talk about basketball right now. We're going late on time. Mr. Lockdown's going to be very upset with us. That was so scary, guys. That basketball game was horrifying. And look, if you decided that football game was rough, I've seen enough green and white for today, I'll just check the basketball score at the game's end, and you saw 86-72, you're thinking, all right, thought it'd be a little more, but that's fine. It was not that close. Anyone that watched that game knows full well it was not that close, and we have some people to thank here. Okay, we're anyone whose initials are CC. We're talking Carson Cooper, who is a plus 18. Shout out _Zinger on Twitter for doing all the lineup compilations. Much appreciated over there. But he was a plus 18, also career high 12 points from Carson Cooper. Looked really good today. All right. Cohen Carr, that's your other guy. Plus 15, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 9 of the points in the second half, guys. If Cohen Carr didn't exist, Michigan State does not win this game. His game, too, has evolved so far beyond just being the circus sideshow that does really awesome dunks. My man is slashing. He is finishing. He knows how to get into the lanes. He is fully materializing into the Brandon Dawson archetype that we thought that he could be here in East Lansing, right in front of our eyes. Now, I had the epiphany the other day, or it dawned on me the other day, that when I bring up Brandon Dawson on this show, when I talk about Cohen Carr all the time, like, that was 10 years ago. Guys in college right now, like, if you're a junior up there at State right now and you're listening to this, you're 20 years old, you were 10 years old back in the day. So I really got to, stop using decade-old guys while comparing them. But anyone that was, fully in Michigan State basketball, you know what I'm talking about here. The guy can slash. He's an athletic freak. Carr much more athletic than Brandon Dawson, I will say that, which is saying a lot because Dawson was quite the athlete himself. Regardless, really great game from him. Akins led the way in plus-minus with a +20. He had 13, 12, and 6. Really solid. Not the most efficient shooting day, but he buried a clutch three-pointer in the second half that really put the game away here for Michigan State. And, unfortunately, yes, shooting woes continue to be an issue here. 4 of 20 from behind the arc. As you know, Michigan State's one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the nation. They were 349th coming into this game, and this is only going to knock them down a few pegs. You know my thoughts on shooting. Okay, I think it's going to be a long-term issue this season. I don't think that these are all blips on the radar. I think shooting is going to be a problem here. I will say this, though, not just to be Johnny Rankline and be negative the entire end of the show here. There is something to be said about scoring 86 points, shooting 4 of 20 from three-point land, and only having 15 fast break points. Bowling Green did a really good job at just getting back on defense, not really even attempting offensive rebounds, and then just making sure that MSU didn't get out in transition. They held MSU to 15 points, but, 15 fast break points, 12 three-pointers, someone doing the math, that's 27 points out of the 86. That's really good work by your half-court offense. A half-court offense I've had serious doubts about, but okay, so let's go to I just said I'd be positive, but we also got to have serious dialogue about some players here. Because A_Zinger, just like he did after Kansas, he pointed out this really good point about the starters and how good they've been doing and how good the lineups are without them too. Michigan State with 4 or 5 starters in this game were a -6. All right, with 0 to 3 starters on the court, they were a +20. The bench, once again, shined for Michigan State. And the starters, they plugged Kohler into the starting lineup. Great. Awesome. Shimon Sapala, I'll get his first name down by March Madness. Don't you worry. If there is a March Madness, there probably will be a March Madness. He's tall. Can't coach that. I'm not going to round the kid too hard. He doesn't play a lot. I personally don't expect a lot out of him, so maybe that's why I'm not, going super in-depth. He was the bench player at Lawnwood. Whatever. Frankie Fiddler, on the other hand, love the signing. Still think he can get it figured out here. All right, I still think his game will translate. He's great at getting to the free throw line, just like we talked about up and down when we got him. But it's everything outside the free throw line that's really an issue to start the season here. He has 8 of 26 from the field, 2 of 11 from three-point land. Only played 15 minutes tonight because that's all he can play for shooting like that. So got to see more out of Fiddler. And as we go to another guy that will had a lot of hype around him going into this season and last season, Xavier Booker, 10 minutes, 1 of 3 shooting. And guys, when I say I'm truly at a loss of what you do with him, I don't think I'm being dramatic, or I genuinely have no idea what you do with Booker. I don't think you can't start him. We've seen how putting him in the starting lineup goes last few games, as if today was any better starting behind the 8 ball, but he doesn't really do much offensively. He's a 3-and-D player off the bench. One problem, is he north of 30% on his career three-point shooting? I guess I could look that up really quick, but I don't think he's earned the right to be a 3-and-D guy. And sure, his defense is solid, but this is all we're getting out of a former 5-star. This is not good. What I want to do this weekend, go back and look up if Izzo ever had a quote about his off-season progression, because I swear I heard about him progressing the off-season. When does that start happening? Just out of curiosity. No, his three-point percentage is 28.8%. My man, why are we just drifting out on the arc and exclusively the arc then? Why aren't we doing anything inside of the perimeter? God gifted you with some amazing abilities in basketball. Don't just stand out there like your 2015 Klay Thompson and threes are your only thing you do because you don't do it well. I don't know what you do with Xavier Booker. I don't. I think the worst thing that happened to this kid, and I floated this this theory out last year, and I will continue to do it this year. Him getting bumped from like ranked 86th in the nation to top 5 was the worst thing that could have happened to him. Both maybe just personally and also for us fans as far as expectations go too. Like if he just came in here as like, some kid middling in the 80s, who would really care that much if he's doing this? But since he was a 5-star McDonald's All-American, he's not unplayable, but I gotta say 10 minutes sounds about right for him. If he can't hit a 3-pointer and just, plays marginally good defense and is just tall. Sure, whatever. I don't know. If you have an answer of what you want to do with Xavier Booker, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. That is a rhetorical and non-rhetorical question. I don't know. I don't know what to do with him. Marcus Johnson. You know what? If we're going to talk about this game just really quick before getting to Samford here, because I don't know if we're going to get to the Samford preview this week. We're going to be heavy on football and recruiting to start the week. But really quick about this game, Marcus Johnson, talked about him for a little bit in the preview show on Friday. Guy's built like a defensive end, if not maybe even like a 3 technique guy. I don't know. The guy's built, right? That's the bigger guy for Bowling Green. 23 points. Guys, we got really lucky because that could have been a lot worse than 23 points. He is a 44% career 3-point shooter. He went 1 of 11 from 3. He did so much damage to us today, and it could have been that much worse because even if he hits 2 or 3 more, completely different ball game. Regardless, let's end this show here. Oh, God, we're 36 minutes in. Mr. Lockdown's going to be furious at me. Samford, really quick. They were last year's tournament almost stunners. That's right. Almost beat Kansas. Some controversy in that game, whatever. Very different team. All right, from their top 5 contributors last year, none of them returned from this year. Akur, no longer on the team. He was that dazzling forward for them. They shoot 33.3% from 3 because that was their calling card last year, is that we're just one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the nation. They shot it above 40%. So far, not the MO for Samford this season. They are 3-1. They beat Mississippi College. They beat Rhodes. They beat Northern Alabama in overtime. And then they lost to Cornell. Players to watch, Jaden Brunell, 6'9" forward. He's a bucket. He could stretch it out outside the arc. He could do it in the post. So, again, he's not going to be like the 6'7", 270-pound player like we found from Bowling Green today. He's built like a normal basketball player, but still really good. Michigan State projected to win this game by 12.5 points on Torvik right now. So that's your Samford preview. 8 p.m. on Peacock. Woo! Peacock. Great job, networks. You know what? I shouldn't say that because I'd love for our last 2 games football to be on Peacock so no one has to see that. I'm just seeing these Boilers versus Spartans commercials on Friday, and I'm thinking there's some Fox execs out there that are punching the air right now that they scheduled this game. Because outside of us 6 Spartan fans and the even sicker Boiler fans, who on earth is going to watch that game? I don't care if you got nothing going on a Friday night. I've watched some horrible football games. I watched Washington UCLA on Friday night. Even that as a bystander would be a bridge too far. That said, I am excited for the game. I'm excited to go. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us, guys. There's a lot of comments right here. I'm sorry I didn't get to any of the comments, guys, on the YouTube channel. You guys are truly the best. Guys like Dog David, you guys are always the best. Alan is just shouting people off here. Okay, guys, we got to end this. I got to go to bed. I'm not going to go to bed, though. I'm going to stare at the ceiling and wonder how this got this bad and how it's going to get better, which we're going to have to talk about if this does get better here in the future. All right. I love you guys. Go green. I guess. Yeah, no, go green. Let's go. Yeah.